Don't Breathe. Now this is I want to say this is the third horror movie that I've seen. Out of like the past 4 movies I think I've seen in general, maybe the past 5 movies, 3 have been horror movies. And I think this is another good step. We've had a couple of really good horror movies come out lately. This one's definitely more in the vein of just thriller suspense than really horror movie. Because it's not like a slasher flick or anything like that. It's kind of just, it's really creepy and it's a thriller suspense sort of thing. I feel like horror is kind of like, it has to be supernatural almost, but kind of the way it plays out, it almost is a little bit. It's a really crazy movie, but it's really fun. It's a really fun, very intense movie. I think it's not only visually done very well, because it's fairly simple. It's in this house, the entire time. You got these 3 characters, and this is all from the trailer. So it's got these 3 characters that break into this blind guy's house, and basically after that things go crazy, because it's like, oh, this guy's blind, no big deal, we'll go in, we'll get some stuff, we'll get the stuff, and we'll get out. We'll have, yet another good heist, pretty much is how it goes. So it kind of starts off like, well, these aren't really the good, they aren't, they weren't just randomly trapped by some dude. They went in trying to steal from this guy, so they aren't great. And then it's still like, it's odd because you still kind of root for them because they're like the main characters and he's kind of the villain, but not really because he's going after them. Because they broke into his house. But it's a really good film. Like, it's really crazy, and he's going around and, he's using his heightened senses and stuff to find them, and he, of course, he doesn't rely on sight. So, they're freaking out. They're running around this house trying not to make a bunch of noise because it's like, all right, he's, there's scenes where they're in the room with him and they have to kind of like freeze in place and stuff. And there's scenes where he's moving, he'll like move, he'll be walking somewhere if he doesn't know they're there, and they have to kind of just like freeze or like move to the side, but fast enough but not too fast to make a bunch of noise. And it's really cool. It's really fun watching that. And there's a really great scene where they're in the darkness with him. That's probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie, and that was really well done because it's just really crazy for these characters. But really fun movie. This is done by the creators of Evil Dead. So Sam Raimi is a producer on it. I can't remember the name of the guy who directed. I want to say Freddy Alvarez, I believe is his name. I didn't realize that. I forgot that it was from the creators of Evil Dead, so I wasn't thinking of that. But after I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I love Evil Dead. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and it was kind of funny when I was going through it. The main actress, Jane Levy, I was like, man, it was driving me nuts the whole movie. I'm like, she looks so freaking familiar. I know I've seen her in something. And then they finally clicked at like the end of the movie. I was like, oh, she was Mia from the Evil Dead remake. And it was kind of funny. I was like, man, she ends up in these horror movies where she's just like stuck in a house or a cabin or something. And I love both the movies. And it was really cool. And it kind of made sense after I saw like, oh, like Sam Raimi, maybe that's, it's the same creators. So maybe that's why they got her, because they know that she could do horror well, and they want to put her in another crazy film, and they certainly do that. It's not as crazy as Evil Dead with like demons and whatnot, but it's really nuts, and it has some twists in here. There's like one point, it starts off typical, and it's like they're trapped in this house with this dude, and it's like, how the F do we get out of here? And then they go through, and it's like, in pretty much any horror movie where they're stuck somewhere, it's like, alright, this is our first great plan, and somehow it goes wrong. During the section where it goes wrong, there's a huge, like, twist in the story that's like, huh, the things have changed now about, how you look at this movie. And it just gets it gets even crazier after that. So, there's a twist. I don't want to say it's halfway through. I think it's like a bit before the halfway mark in the film. It's probably like way before the halfway mark, actually. But it's a change, and it's just like, this is not what I was expecting at all for this movie. And it was just really crazy. And I totally forgot. It's technically a scene that they show in the trailer. But I totally forgot, because I've only seen the trailer for this movie one time. And it was the last time I went to see a movie. Or the time before last, because the last movie I saw was Kubo. They definitely didn't show the trailer to this at Kubo. But and it was crazy. It's like I hadn't heard anything about this movie. I think it was when I went to see Sausage Party is when I saw that trailer. And that was the only time I'd seen it, like, whatsoever. It was like, it's the only time I heard about it, and I was like, crap, that comes out in like 2 weeks or something crazy. And it was like, it's really weird I haven't heard anything about this. Even since I saw that, I mean, I'm not on TV, it's the summer, so I'm not really watching TV anyway, so maybe that's why I hadn't seen even TV spots. But even on YouTube, I hadn't seen any ads for this movie or anything, so it's like, this is really crazy that there's like no ads for this movie, and there certainly should be. I think, especially with word of mouth, I've seen it get like really good reviews, and hopefully that gets it, enough money, because like I said, I hadn't seen any advertisements for this whatsoever, outside of the one trailer I saw actually in the movies to see something else. So it was like, I would have totally missed this movie. I would have been like, what the heck is this? But great trailer, and it fortunately translated to a pretty great movie, and it was definitely fun. It was, like I said, very thriller suspense style. Just the way they shot everything, and in the spaces that they have. When the characters first get into the blind guy's house, they have this really cool, just like long panning shot, and it's just going around there, kind of doing their thing where they're just trying to steal stuff, and it's like, all right, well, this looks good, or this and that, and it was just a cool shot. Like, it didn't really have any true significance. There were a couple of little hints in there. There were some things that they definitely showed. I was like, that's definitely going to come back later, because it seemed like a totally pointless and weird shot. I was like, that's going to have some sort of importance later on. So, it seemed minimal for some of the stuff that they show, but it's like, that's going to come into play later on for sure. So I like how they did that shot. And it's like a simple premise, but it's just done in such a really cool way. You got this guy who's just blind, and it's like, oh, it's easy mark, and then it just gets crazy after that. It just turns into like just this crazy mess for these people, and it's like you kind of root for them, but then it's like they're also the thieves. Like, they're the one going after this guy technically, and they kind of messed him up, and then it's like, well, crap, I can't vote against this guy because that freaking blows. And then, things just get crazier and crazier, and it's like, I don't know, at some point you kind of just feel like, oh man, they kind of deserve this, and then sometimes it's like, crap, that just seemed a little too far. Like, I think there's a point where you get in this movie where it's like, alright, I think he's done enough damage, and it's like, he can let them walk right now, and you'd be like, alright, everyone's balanced out, and then he starts to keep going, and it's like, oof. Even I think that's a bit much, cause, so it's really crazy, but it's a really fun film. I really enjoyed the way it played out. I like the visuals for it. They do a lot of cool stuff. One of the best things about this movie, the fact that he's blind leads to a lot of tense moments with him having guns. And those were some of the craziest moments, because he's listening for stuff. And this like one scene that they show in the trailer, when things first like kick off, and he has a gun in his hand. So he's listening, and it's like, I heard like one little noise, and he's trying to figure out where everybody is. And then like something random goes off, and he just instantly shoots, but it's like near one of the characters, and that happens quite a bit, but it's not overdone, but it happens in a realistic way, because of course he's blind, like he has to aim for where he hears the noise come from. So they do that like quite a bit, and like sometimes it is real close, and it's like, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, because I'm not 100% sure. There's one thing that they do in the beginning of the movie that I was really surprised. It's something you never see, at least not that I can remember that I've ever seen in like a thriller, suspense, horror type of movie. So that I thought was an interesting choice with the way they started this movie. And admittedly, I don't know if I like that too much, even though I kind of, as the movie continues on, it's like, alright, I can kind of tell where things are going to go from here. But I still would have preferred if they didn't have that, because it's just one of those things that, I don't want to get into too much detail even as to what it is, and you'll know what it is once you see it. It's the first scene. And it was kind of like, oh, it's a cool shot, but I wish they didn't really do that, because it's one of those weird things where it's like, it does technically, you don't think about it as you're going through a movie, the very first time. It might come up a little bit, but it's still there. Even that little bit, when it comes up, it's like, well, I saw that first scene, and it's like, well, it kind of says this, so yeah, I know what to expect a little bit throughout the film. But it's still a really fun movie. Highly recommend it. Very tense. I love, of course, with the guy being deaf, they have some of those moments. Like I said, the basement, probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. And it just gets really, really quiet. There's really not a lot of music like at all in this movie. Now that I think about it, I don't think they really do too much music whatsoever, and it's just, this is happening. They don't do like, a lot of the jump. There aren't really, there's like one jump scare, and it's like maybe at the beginning of the movie, and it's not even like, that big of a thing. It's just like, oh, it's like this little thing that happens, and it's not like, oh, the villain or something random. It's something that would logically happen. It's like, that makes sense, but it was, it's pseudo, sort of a jump scare moment, but at least it worked. Like, it was one of those working jump scares. you know, the other, I guess technically they have a couple in there, but they all make sense. It's not just like this random thing happens just to be scary for no good reason. It's like this would be scary in real life. Like you see this random thing happen or this random thing happens around you, it makes sense that you would jump because it's like, that's freaking nuts. I wasn't expecting that. So definitely a really good movie if you're into like, you know, thriller, suspense films where it's like you don't really know how things are going to play out, like who's going to win and who's not going to win. And I highly recommend it. It's a really fun movie. Of course, I'm going to get into my spoiler discussion, so if you guys have any comments that you want to save, if they're going to be spoiler based, you can wait until I do the spoiler video. I'll have a link in the description if you want to, you know, hop on over to that. I forgot to mention that early on, but obviously, spoiler-free review is in the title. But if you do have, you know, you guys do have any comments, of course, put them down in the comment section below. If you are going to do spoiler comments in this video, just put a spoiler tag beforehand so that way people don't get spoiled for the movie. Or, like I said, you can just save them. But either way, want to know what you guys think about it, so you can put it here or put it in the next video. But, of course, thank you guys for watching.